If you've been wondering what type of powder is best for you, this is the video for you. Today I'm going to be comparing loose powder versus pressed powder using the Huda Beauty Easy Bake powders. And we now have a new formula, which I have a full in-depth review you can watch. I'll have a link down below. But let's get into this because I'm about to show mis bonitas which one works best for who, how they look side by side, and of course also a wear test. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. That really helps us out so we can continue to grow esta familia bonita. Give the video a big thumbs up to let me know to continue making more of this content. So let's just get right into this comparison review. So I don't have concealer on yet. I just have foundation. Today for foundation, I am wearing the Armani Luminous Silk Foundation. I'm consistently retesting these items out because I'm gonna continue sharing thoughts as time progresses. So for concealer, I'm gonna be sticking with Huda Beauty. This one is in the shade Sugar Biscuit, and we're gonna start off with the loose powder side. So I'm just going in concealing. Let me open my powder so that we can have it ready to go. I'm gonna dump some out. For loose powder, I am using the shade Cherry Peach. It looks like this. And I'm going to begin blending this out. I'm going to do this quickly so that we can get right to the powders. I just wanted you bonitas to see exactly what products I was wearing. We're gonna start off with loose powder, and for loose powder, I'm gonna be taking a powder puff that looks like this. I'm gonna be going in with that powder puff and just removing some of that powder on the back of the hand so it's not too heavy on the under eyes, especially if you are somebody that doesn't like too much heaviness on the under eye. Then definitely you want to dust off or pat off any of that extra powder. If you need to go back in with more, you can take a little bit more, but at least it's not gonna feel super intense on the under eye. I will say this Huda Beauty Easy Bake powder is really nice because it's very lightweight. It's a very lightweight powder and it just works so smoothly. With some loose powders, they can feel a little thick and heavier. This one feels so weightless. Now, I do want to give you bonitas some information about the loose powder. So the loose powder is a very finely milled, lightweight and airy classic baking texture. When I say lightweight, like this is a very, very lightweight, silky consistency. And the loose usually does feel more lighter, more airbrushed. So you get these type of results. This is best for baking or for setting the under eyes. I would say if you do have oily skin, what I've tend to notice is that going in, especially for special events, you don't have to do this all the time, but going in and baking and also going in and just adding powder and letting it sit there for a little bit can really help absorb any of that extra type of oiliness, dewiness on the skin to give you the most flawless airbrush finish and most longevity with you wanting to have a nice matte and in place look. So I like to leave this on for a few minutes and just let it do its thing. Then I'm gonna go in with the same concealer. Where's the concealer? I'm like losing everything. Concealer on this side where we're gonna go in with the pressed. The cool thing about loose powder too is that you could do it with a puff like this to set or bake certain areas. You could also just take a powder and lightly dust it on the face. So it's very customizable. You can use it for more of a natural type of look if you want it to just be light little bit of powder on the skin, or you could go in how I just went in and really press it in with a puff to get that maximum coverage and airbrush finish from it to get the results that you want. It also just works best to absorb, like I said earlier, absorb all the oil on the skin. On this side, what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm going to use the pressed powder. So I'm gonna be taking the new Easy Bake Peach Cupcake pressed powder. I do have an in-depth review on this formula and how it wears for 12 hours. I will link it down below so you guys can check this out. But today we're just doing a comparison on pressed versus loose powders. So I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna take this and I'm going to use it to set the under eye. Now, for me, typically with a lot of creasing on the under eyes, I usually like to go in with loose powder. I feel like it really holds those creases in place a little better than a pressed powder is. But for the sake of this video, I do want to bring you guys the full-blown comparison on each side of pressed versus loose. I'm just going in like so. Now with pressed powder, once you apply that powder underneath the eye, you don't have to go back in with a brush like you do with this side. You can just apply and go. It's a very easy on the go friendly type of formula. Obviously it's pressed, so you can just take this on the go, y lista. I also do want to point out, per you guys' recommendation on the review I did on these powders, I decided after review and your recommendations, because I always trust mis bonitas, to go in with the shade Peach Cupcake over the shade Banana Bread. You guys mentioned that Banana Bread looked a little bit more yellow, and yes, when I saw it, it definitely gave a brightening effect, but I do agree with what you're saying. So I said, you know what, let me just go ahead and take this shade, especially right now that it's my winter shade. I think this will work better, and I do think it's working better. So you can see I just took that powder, that pressed powder, and applied it underneath. And we're gonna just focus on the under eyes right now before we move on to the next steps of how we like to use each type of powder. So now what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna take a brush and I'm going to dust away the powder on the loose powder side so you can see. So both sides look very comparable, and I think that's what Huda was going for. Really like mimic each other and kind of be like sisters. Obviously not twins, because they're two different types of formula. One is loose, one is pressed, but to look very similar in what you're looking for from the Eaze Bake collection. And I do see a lot of similarities. Now, I will say, maybe it's because I dusted away the powder, but with like a brush. And this one I pressed in with a puff, but I feel like I'm getting a little bit more pigmentation out of the pressed powder than the loose powder. And that's something else I do want to mention. With a pressed powder, you get much more precision from the application of the powder. So you're going to get more pigmentation right away immediately, especially if you go in with a puff. Now, if you go in with a brush, you could get a little bit more of a natural type of look to it if you don't go in with that much powder. But I am noticing that this one immediately looks more pigmented and a little bit more airbrushed than with the loose powder. So just keep those things in mind. Both feel very lightweight. They don't feel heavy at all, which is a plus. And even though the new pressed powders do not have talc, it still looks very smooth. Like it looks like a very smooth application. What I'm gonna do really quickly is I'm going to finish up the rest of my makeup, and then I'm gonna come back on camera and do a little bit more of that setting from both sides so you can see a little bit more of a difference, and then we can start this wear test, because I'm going to be wearing both powders for the full day and then come back at night and just give you guys my recommendations on which powder would be best suited for who. Right now, first impressions, I think this one looks slightly better, which is crazy because I think everybody loves the loose Eaze Bake powders, which what's there not to love about them? But this side is just giving much more pigmentation from the powder if that's what you're looking for. So let me finish off the rest of the makeup and I'll be right back. Okay, makeup is done. So now the next step to comparing the loose versus pressed is to go and set the face / bake the face and do all that good stuff. What I like to do is I like to go in and add powder and just kind of bake the areas where I tend to get very, very dewy. So for me, that tends to be like right here in like the T-zone area, around the nose as well. Also the chin. Also, I like to go in and just, you know, carve out where we applied our blush to just kind of clean it up further. Like so, and just kind of give it like a more structured look. Now, I don't do this every day. Again, this is another technique if you really needed to absorb all that extra oil and just give you like super flawless results. Going with a loose powder is going to be the one for you. Now, loose powder is messy, so this is definitely a step that you do at home while you're getting ready. This isn't a powder that you would take on the go for touch-ups. Now, speaking of that, we're gonna go on to the pressed powder side and we're going to set the makeup. To set, I'm just gonna again use my same little powder puff. It's that velour material as well. It does have a side that's spongy, but we're gonna use the velour powder puff side. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just going to apply the powder and also just clean up around the blush. But unlike this, it's more subtle. You know, it's more subtle what you're getting. You're really pressing that powder in with the puff. And I'm gonna go ahead and set it here. Now, just for reference, I am going to dust this away. I'm not going to leave it like this. I'm just letting it absorb everything it needs to absorb before I move on. So this is me setting with the pressed powder. Again, very airbrushed, flawless results. Then I'm gonna go with the other side, the loose side, and I'm gonna dust away all the powder we just applied, especially on the areas of the smile lines. Dust that all off and make sure there is no powder left. And again, it looks very flawless and airbrush. It doesn't look cakey. It doesn't feel heavy from either side. So I didn't really nail that because both sides feel good. We have here loose, we have here pressed. Right now it is 12:26. We're gonna be wearing this makeup for the rest of the day up until nighttime. So I'm thinking like 9:30, 10 p.m. This is going to stay on the face through errands, gym, cooking dinner, all that stuff. This is going to be on the face. So that being said, what are we thinking? Let me know your thoughts on how it looks right now, because you guys will see me at the end of the day. I'll also do an in natural lighting clip so you can see the comparison of both sides as well. Honestly, bonitas, they both look really flawless. I don't think one looks better than the other. They both look so nice. So this is the loose powder side. This is the pressed powder side. I do want to say one more thing though. So with the loose powder side, once you go in with this powder, like, you can't really take this on the go with you to touch up. I mean, you could if you really wanted to, but it's definitely a messier situation. But just for that, like, you know, lock you into place, this is what people typically gravitate towards. It's also a little messy, so you just always want to be cautious of that as you're, you know, putting your makeup on. I always like to have like a paper towel underneath just to make sure we don't get any powder everywhere. But as for the pressed powder, you can always take this on the go. This is a great powder for touch-ups. This is a great powder that you can carry in your purse at any given moment, take it out and just do any needed touch-ups, which I think makes it really convenient for the person who's on the go. This is a fantastic option. So it's good to know that you do have options with this. It's also mess-free, so you don't have to worry about it like getting everywhere. That's that. Pressed versus loose. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do now is carry on with the rest of my day, and I'll come back at the end of the day to give you guys my final thoughts and show you how these compare after a long day. A loose versus pressed type of situation. So if you want to continue watching, then please go ahead and do so, bonitas. So here is the side with the pressed powder. You can see with natural light, and then here's the side with the loose powder. I feel like in natural light, the side with the loose powder looks slightly more airbrushed. This one with the pressed powder looks like we have some makeup on. It doesn't feel heavy, but it definitely looks more like makeup-y. Let me know your thoughts. Bonitas, bonitas, I wanted to do another in natural lighting clip. I actually just left Ulta, which honestly, I shouldn't have even gone to Ulta because today the Ulta tickets went on sale and they're sold out. I wasn't able to get my ticket, but it's okay. Next year. But they need to come out with more tickets because they only had like 3,000 and apparently there was like 3 million people on the website. Insane. But anyways, I wanted to show you the difference between the pressed powder versus the loose powder. What are we thinking? I feel like in this light, they look similar, and it's been like 2 hours since you last saw me, so I just wanted to come in again for another check-in, especially while the sun is out, because you guys know sun goes down early. So yeah, I really like how the complexion looks right now. I will say though, I do think color-wise, this side looks a little bit more true to color. This side looks a little lighter, but both still looking very nice and airbrushed. So I did get some Ulta goodies. Not too many. It just looks like I did get a lot because this big bag. But there's a few items in here that I'm going to be reviewing soon, so stay tuned. And now I'm off to Dunkin' because I've been obsessed with their hot chocolate with protein milk. Chef's kiss, and perfect for my lifting days because I am a gym girly right now. I have goals this year. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to head back home. So yeah, I just want to give you guys a check-in. It is 9:33 p.m. at night. As promised, I came back a little later than I usually would, but I wanted to bring you bonitas a really good wear test of the loose powder versus the pressed powder. Now, I just got back from the gym, I had dinner, and this is what it's looking like. And I was trying to compare to see which side looked dewier, if the loose side looked dewier or the pressed side. And I have to say, I feel like they look equally about the same. That's the loose, that's the pressed. What are you thinking? Let me know down below in the comment section. But I also do want to point something else. So you bonitas saw how I set with the powder on the under eyes, and typically loose powder for me does a really good job of not creasing. But here you can see I am creasing a lot more than the press side. I've never really been a pressed powder girly when it comes to setting my concealer, just because loose has always worked better for me. But this is kind of impressive that the new Huda Beauty pressed powder is keeping me like nice and in place. Like that is very impressive. So this powder, I mean, it definitely kept me nice and more crease free than this side right here. Now for this side with the pressed powder, I do want to go ahead and kind of touch it up, because you guys know that with this, you can take this on the go, touch it up, and you know, keep it moving. So I'm gonna go ahead, if I wanted to continue wearing this, just kind of touch it up. And bam, touches up so beautifully, and it looks so good, like so airbrushed. I have to say, Huda Beauty really did their thing with this new pressed powder. And you bonitas also did see like my two check-ins that I did today. They look pretty similar. It wasn't until like maybe like 2 hours ago, maybe after the gym, that I felt like I really picked up dew. So I would say for the Bonita on the go, a pressed powder is really the one, and this Huda Beauty one does not play games. So you can see loose powder, pressed powder. Well, the loose powder definitely needs some work at this point, but this is just to show the difference on how these two work and how you can still continue using the pressed powder many hours after on the go, if you're Bonita on the go. But I will say, the pressed powder gives a very beautiful finish for just like such an airbrush look. Like this definitely gives a longer wear of me wearing my makeup beautifully, especially for pictures. Whenever I use this for pictures, like my makeup looks absolutely flawless and airbrushed. But I do think that if you do use this, you're going to want to take something on the go with you for more hours later in the day if you're going to continue needing to touch up. I would say, if I had to recommend something, I would say get this. I would say pressed powder wins this battle. And the reason I'm saying that isn't just because you can take this on the go, it's mess free, but the fact that it wears so beautifully on the under eye, and I have very creasy under eyes, on the under eye, and it still looks really nice versus this. I mean, now I found the one that I could just do everything with, and wanted to mainly do this video to be able to give you options. You know, one side with the pressed powder, one side with the loose powder, and see, you know, something works for everybody. Okay, there's something for everybody, and that's the thing that is most important out of this review. So I would say, personal recommendation, the pressed one. But now it's your turn. Let me know down below in the comment section, which powder would you check out? Are you more so of a loose powder person or a pressed powder person? But nonetheless, this is the review. So muchas gracias, bonitas. I really appreciate you watching. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps us continuing to grow our channel right here on YouTube. I'll see mis bonitas very, very soon for a brand new video. Adios.